Happy Monday, April 20th. Welcome back to Capital Markets Quickie. I'm your host, Endrit Sella, and let's get into the week ahead on the markets. Today's episode is brought to you by AMF Capital. Learn more at amf-capital.de. Let's dive in. Now, first things first. Over the weekend, or let's say yesterday, markets were really focused on developments between the U.S. and Iran. We got news of a ceasefire and, importantly, that the Strait of Hormuz is basically open for business again. And that really fueled investor optimism going into this week. Why does this matter? Well, it's all about oil prices, inflation, and ultimately consumer spending. And that brings us straight into today, because later today, we're getting U.S. retail sales data for March. Investors are watching this very closely to understand how consumers are handling one of the biggest inflation jumps we've seen in years. Now remember, retail spending already picked up by 0.6% in February after a weak January due to bad weather. So the question now is, does that momentum continue? This is especially relevant with the Federal Reserve meeting coming up next week. Expectations are that rates stay unchanged for now, but markets are still holding on to hopes of rate cuts sometime in 2026. Now, shifting gears to equities, this week also marks the start of earnings from the so-called Magnificent Seven. And it kicks off midweek, on Wednesday, with Tesla. And Tesla is going to be a big one. The stock has been under pressure lately due to weaker electric vehicle sales, but at the same time, there's a lot of excitement around its transition into more of a tech and AI-driven company. Elon Musk has been very active in the headlines, from announcing a new chip design to bringing Intel in as a partner for a major production project. And on top of that, there's increasing speculation about a potential IPO of SpaceX, which could also have ripple effects on Tesla. Speaking of Intel, they're also reporting later this week, and investors are watching closely to see whether the broader chip industry is finally stabilizing as supply shortages ease. And then, of course, we've got a packed corporate calendar beyond tech. On Tuesday, United Health reports. And that's an interesting one given the recent pressure on the stock from regulatory scrutiny and rising healthcare costs. But there's also some optimism thanks to better Medicare pricing. We also get retail sales data today. Again, super important for the macro picture. Then, Tuesday after the close, United Airlines reports, with some buzz around potential consolidation in the airline industry after comments about possibly acquiring American Airlines. Thursday brings more airline earnings, including American Airlines and Southwest, where investors will be watching closely whether higher ticket prices are starting to hit demand. And wrapping up the week, Intel will host its earnings call Thursday evening, with expectations that performance improves as supply chain issues gradually ease. So, overall, it's one of those weeks where everything comes together: geopolitics, inflation, consumer strength, and big tech narratives. Plenty to watch. Alright, that's it for today's Capital Markets Quickie. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe and stay in the loop. And if you want more insights, just add me on LinkedIn. Always happy to connect. See you tomorrow morning.